Thanks for listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
You're listening to Framework Focus, the podcast that explores trends, innovations, and insights in the long-term care pharmacy industry. Join us as we connect the entire LTC ecosystem.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast for everything long-term care pharmacy, Framework Focus by SoftWriters. One of my favorite podcasts because I love talking LTC. I love talking about the evolution of community pharmacy, which, by the way, is going to heavier long-term care and the future of long-term care at home. And when I think of how to build business, building business or building onto business is going to take data, and it's going to take data reflection. And that in of itself, I guess we could say, people say analytics, people say metrics, people say data. Terry's here with me. Terry, what do you say? Metrics, analytics, or data?
I guess I'd say insight. I can call it anything, right? But generally, I call it metrics. That's probably my normal term outside of insight.
What about you, Amanda? Is it data or is it data?
Ooh, I would definitely say depends on how I feel, but typically data. Yeah.
Me too.
Very rarely data. Yeah.
I'm a data guy myself. Hey, coming back to Terry, introduce yourself to the listeners. Let them know who you are and what you do over there at SoftWriters.
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Terry Dean. I'm the Director of Product Operations and Execution, and I've been with SoftWriters for almost 5 years. So I'm just very excited to be here and talk about FrameworkInsight.
How about that new headquarters in downtown Pittsburgh, or I should say downtown Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's nice down here. Yeah.
It is. It is. Amanda, you're up. What are you doing over there at SoftWriters?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Amanda Malooley. I am the Agile Product Owner for FrameworkInsight here at SoftWriters. I've been here for almost 3 months now. So still getting my bearings, but the office is indeed beautiful. So
Really
that helps.
Very much is. And it's huge. You got so much more space there. I absolutely love going downtown to Pittsburgh and seeing you guys. Today, we are turning information into impact in long-term care pharmacy. And I'm excited about this subject because at the Framework Innovation Conference 2025 in sunny San Diego, we dropped the announcement about Framework Insights. We got to be part of that press release. We got to talk about it at the innovation conference. So now it's time to really dig into this system and this product. And I'm just going to open it up to both of you. I'm going to start out with you, Terry, and just give us a little bit of the background on intelligence and insights and how it came to be and what it is. What is this tool that can help our long-term care pharmacy operators?
Yeah, so FrameworkInsight is a dashboard system that comes with multiple dashboards that target different areas of your business, like operations, finance, inventory. There's some AI-powered insights that give you summaries and kind of predictive analytics on your data. So it's a very robust reporting system that just provides a lot of additional capabilities that our other systems don't provide. So I guess how it got started, a few years ago, our customers were telling us that, they didn't have the reporting that they needed. They couldn't get the data out of our systems the way that they wanted to. So they were contracting with third-party vendors or just trying to do manual reporting on their own if they happen to have, some talent in-house with SQL servers. And so we really went to look at, what kind of reporting do we provide today? We had an old legacy BI system that, customers had been using, but again, we were getting feedback that it really just wasn't fitting the bill. It wasn't providing the actionable intelligence that the customers really needed. So when we went back to the drawing board, we said, okay, well, we have a few options. We can add more reporting to the systems. We can upgrade that, old legacy BI system to maybe add more to it. Or we can just start fresh and say, what would be the best thing to serve all of our customers? What do they really need to have the actual insights they're really looking for? So instead, we decided to start fresh, and our front end of the system is in Tableau, which is a very well-known reporting system and is very capable and robust and can do a lot of different types of reporting. And one of the things that is really nice about it is that it actually does it in visualization. So charts and graphs and lots of different, so you can really see trends over time. That's a lot more difficult to see in the tabular reporting that we've seen in the past and what our regular systems normally provide.
I want to back up for just a second. And Amanda, when we hear long-term care pharmacy, specialty, community, mix, compounding, so many different sections, and each of them are transforming. Some of them are even niching into different components within themselves. But what makes long-term care pharmacy uniquely complex compared to those other pharmacy environments?
Yeah, sure. So prior to my role, I worked primarily with retail community pharmacies. So working with LTC pharmacies, there are very unique complexities, especially with their need to manage payer relationships across various payers. They also have multiple facilities, and they handle the inventory across all different types of medication types, like compounding, as you had mentioned, and then also coordinating delivery logistics. So doing all of that while also maintaining their quality or compliance standards, which can also differ across jurisdictions if that applies. So that creates a lot of challenges with data. Obviously, we are in 2025, almost 2026. We have no shortage of data necessarily, but it's what you do with that data and how you transform that data into information and transform that information into knowledge that can be used to make business decisions is a whole other game. It's a very complex method of handling business or making business decisions. So yeah, BI tools aren't always built with that complexity in mind, which is why Insight is so specific towards LTC, is because we really have that LTC background and data behind us.
Yeah, it's the absolute flavor of a long-term care pharmacy, assisted living, skilled nursing, institutional environment where you're catering to the specific organization's request for their own internal operations. And they may have an EHR, they may have a specific packaging that they're using. They may have, there's a multitude of things that just doesn't fit our community spaces. And to tell a war story, when I was part of the SoftWriters team and I was selling pharmacy management systems to organizations that were trying to get into long-term care, and they were normally assisted living and light long-term care, I would say. They were really community. Having them drive things from a batch of prescriptions that were dedicated to an organization instead of dedicated to just a single patient, because of the efficiency that created, was like trying to teach Greek or Mandarin language to these operators. And so you guys really have become experts in that environment where you can tap into the power of data and the power of insights to pull some of that out to stay ahead of the operations. So you're almost as a predictive modeling-esque kind of flavor per se, to being able to say, hey, this is the insights, and based on these insights and these trends, here's what we can expect. And I'm wondering, Terry, about the gaps and where, when you look at the that across the industry, and how are most pharmacies currently using their data as is? Your Framework Insights, like the goggles you put over your eyes so that you can see stuff, but it's those organizations that don't have those goggles. So how are most pharmacies using data to try to map the next steps?
Yeah, I think the way you phrase it with, being able to use goggles to see everything together in Insight is a great example, because the customers that aren't using that tool and they are using, either their own custom reporting or things they've done on their own, it's all piecemeal. They can see certain pieces of data at certain times. It's kind of like you have to look at this thing here, then you look over there, and then you look over here, and then you're trying to piece it all together in your mind, and you're saying, well, this is what my inventory manager needs, and this is what my operational folks needs, and this is what our billing and finance folks needs. But as a leader, I want to see it all together. I want to see everything for my business. And that's extremely difficult to do without Framework Insight. I think one of the nice things that our dashboards are able to include a lot of data from different areas of the system and pull it together in a singular view so that you can just see everything together.
And you're able to analyze that data with confidence, and you're able to rely on it for specific reporting, extraction of data, because your CFO wants to see something different than your workflow manager does, or your technician data entry team. And you could really split it up into categories and really start to hone in on how do we make this operation more effective and more efficient. And I think that's exactly what Framework Insight is doing. And so I'm talking about that business intelligence and why that matters now, and it's now more than ever. It's harder to run a pharmacy in so many ways today than it was 20 years ago, because of the complexity and because of reimbursement and the sensitivity around that. So when we're talking about business intelligence, why is it so important now for long-term care pharmacies to have access to those insights and to that data?
There's a couple of things that our customers are facing that really good data and insights can at least help you manage through. So there, as you brought up, the reimbursements, the IRA, the MFP that's coming down next year, and then it's going to pile on in 27, and it's just going to keep going. These are big implications for our customers, their cash flow, and just how they manage their business. They need to be able to see the data. They need to be able to work with the data, make actionable decisions based on that data, and then come back in a day or so and say, oh yeah, those changes that I implemented, like, they made a difference, and I can see them here or there. So whether it's tracking your reimbursements or tracking, which drugs are being dispensed, and how you can, help their patients figure out, which medications can be helpful for the patient and be helpful for the pharmacy at the same time. One of the other challenges that our customers face is staffing challenges. It's very hard to find good people and keep them and maintain them. So one thing that the tool does is it really helps to analyze staffing, and when you have your staff in place, who is there and when they're there, to know how much work they're doing. So if you can see that your volume of prescriptions is very high at 9 a.m. and you need to have more of your techs in that, in their seats at that time, then you can figure out, how do you want to float your staff throughout the day to handle the workload that's coming in.
Amanda, I want to shift gears for just a second and really talk about some characteristics of effective BI and what that means from the listener's perspective too. What separates just data from true decisions to support, that decision support based on maybe the category, maybe the department? So can you explain that to the listeners?
Yeah, for sure. To me, I think that effective BI should be built for the specific industry or the specific customer that is using it. So in our case, for LTC pharmacy, that means dashboards and metrics designed around staff productivity or inventory management, and not just charts or visualizations to customize and obtain information from. The boxed, in a box package may provide some information for pharmacies to build off of, but it wouldn't be as personalized or specific to the industry that they're in. So a good BI tool presents opportunities and not just numbers and figures. Like Terry had mentioned, the AI Tableau Pulse is incredibly helpful to help understand why something is happening rather than just showing the charts. And for decision support, that requires business context. So having years of historical data integrated so you can see trends, or understanding different seasons or different quarters of the business, and to benchmark the performance over time. So for example, maybe there was an operational change that a pharmacy has made. To know if that really worked or didn't work, you probably want to go about it in a scientific way and be able to test to see if it worked. But in order to do so, having those metrics and those numbers is incredibly helpful for actually knowing if what you're doing is working. And that's kind of what decision support is. Kind of the point of it is to anticipate the questions that you need to ask and help you maybe communicate those findings, and then also dig deeper if you do catch something that might be an anomaly or a reason behind something that took place.
Terry, when I bring on a new system, I'm converting from one software to the next. I take on Framework LTC, my implementation happens, I get my training, start to build my workflow. When does FrameworkInsight put we said goggles, and it's kind of what I'm thinking of. When do we put those on, and what difference does that truly make to a pharmacy operations that is desperate for those kinds of insights and being able to really map what's happening in their operation?
Yeah, actually, one of our early adopters, part of our beta testing program, was a brand new pharmacy that was just starting. So they had just onboarded with Framework LTC, and they were, ready to just jump in with FrameworkInsight. So I think they were running for about a month before we installed with them. And, I think they really benefited from the system. They stayed with it, and they were able to really track the trends of, how was the business performing, particularly in the early days when they maybe had to ramp up and scale up as, more facilities were coming on board and they were adopting, more patients and more medications coming in. They were able to track those trends and see them and anticipate what was going to come.
I love that, because those kinds of insights will give operators an opportunity to stay ahead and start digging down into what trips them up as not only a facilitator of medication management, but also looking to the future for drug shortages or pricing opportunities to save money, or a flagging of an organization, of a long-term care facility that might not have the insights that the pharmacy does. And that makes the pharmacy more of a partner to that organization, to that assisted living center, because now you're giving them insights. That's actually something that I didn't even think of until now that you said that, Terry. But are there any data reporting that you can pull from Framework LTC via FrameworkInsight and share that with your facilities and with the people that you're serving?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, it came up quite a bit from our customers in the early design phases and during beta testing. But we do have a facility focused dashboard. Now, many of our dashboards you can filter down to a specific facility, and maybe you'd want to talk over that data with them. But we also have a facility specific dashboard where we're really trying to include what are your highest drug costs? What are the drugs that are being dispensed the most? Or what are your highest cost patients? So there's a lot of different insights that like you could have specific on that facility dashboard, and then you can export the reports. So say, you export it to PDF, you take it to your next meeting with that facility, and you can really go over all of the details with them, or send it to them on a regular basis if you want to.
So how has the system evolved, Amanda? Because I remember report building out of a SQL server was so novel, it was so new. And sometimes you had to know, even yourself, users, Framework LTC users had to know how to write these themselves in order to extract the data. But now we have Framework Insight to do it. So how is the original version of Framework Insight? How has that all evolved?
Yeah. So when I came in a few months ago, can't believe that it's only been a few months, but we had plenty of ideas to work off of, from beta testers, from internal users, all types of feedback and ideas, which is kind of the dream in product, but also something to weed through, which can be kind of tedious. But our beta testers had one major complaint in common, being kind of more of like the loading times, or how slow maybe it took to load up the dashboard. So we could have pushed through with some new features, big pretty charts and different diagrams of different things, but we instead kind of shifted gears and took a step back and said, well, okay, if that is the main concern across pretty much everyone, maybe that should be our first priority moving into our next release. Because what good is having 50 or more charts or metrics if they can't use them efficiently or work them into their daily workflow because it's taking too long to load. So that experience was kind of more of a lesson in product overall for me, which is not always about what just looks great and what is interesting and cool, but also what actually the customers are asking for and what they actually want in their real world environments. So we kind of had to sacrifice, we're of course still doing those cool, great things, but to make that progress, we wanted to maintain or improve our back end as well so that it can be robust and so that we can handle the bigger items. And that's kind of become our guiding principle, is kind of continuous improvement based on how our customers are using the product, and not just making assumptions on what they need. And so that's why we're taking an approach where the pharmacy input really shapes what we do and how we move forward with our roadmap.
I love that, and I've seen it work because SoftWriters, through a artificial intelligence, a semblance of very handpicked clients and customers to come together to talk about the future of AI and long-term care pharmacy, which could be another podcast we could do for sure. And with that, I want to just throw this over to Terry and demonstrate that. How does your clients bring you real world issues that they're facing in their workflow, in their business? How does that shape the products? How does it shape our existing product, Framework Insight, but how's it shaped for what's to come?
Yeah, we rely on that information quite heavily. So Framework Spark is our ideas portal, and we make use of that across the product suite. So anyone can get access to Framework Spark. That's one of our customers. You can go in there and you can take a look at the different ideas across the products. You can enter new ones. You can upvote the ones that are existing, and we really use those votes to see the things that are going to have the widest reach and the biggest impact on our customers. so that we can help to rank things to say, okay, in our next release, we're going to have to choose, but we want to choose the things that are most important to our customers. Between what we're getting feedback on in Framework Spark, what we hear from our customers at events that we go to, we hold focus group meetings. I know, Amanda was looking at a new dashboard that we're looking to release and some updates to the filtering, and she's already starting to pull things together to meet with customers and go over them and get more feedback. So we take all of that information and synthesize it together to really be able to pick the most high value things that we can add to the system, even when it's back end things that aren't flashy and fun, like Amanda was talking about. But there are things that need done that people want that, we get in our list and we get it done. I think one of the best feedback we got from our beta testers were that as soon as they told us something, by the time we met with them next time, we had it addressed and we had it fixed, or we had something else for them to look at. And that's the best result you can get from a beta testing or alpha testing program, is to get that feedback for people that are on the other end to really feel heard and really feel that we're responsive to what they're asking us for.
All right, Amanda, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give us the top 3 most popular reports or components of FrameworkInsight based on customer feedback.
Yeah, so I know one for certain, which is our staff productivity for sure. That is probably one of the bigger items that we've gotten feedback from, just because that is something that pharmacies can use to visualize workflow on a much more granular scale than what they could be able to see in say the reporting in Framework, or even just the pharmacy productivity. Another item that is heavily asked about, and we are kind of in the works of building, is quality events. So an ability for pharmacies to visualize their quality events that they put into LTC. So that is a type of report that isn't readily available right out of LTC. So we're really excited to be able to bring that to them in a visualization. And then in addition, I would say the last one would probably be the financial dashboard, just because of how there's a lot on that particular dashboard. I believe there are about 8 different data sources. Terry, you could correct me on that one, but lots of very specific financial information, which at the very root of a lot of operational usage of Insight, that's kind of what they are often also looking for, is the financial impact of all of this. So yeah, in addition to that, though, we are also building new filters to add on so that they can even drill down even further into each of the dashboards.
Follow-up bonus question goes to Terry, and that is, I think of the CFO, I think of the accountant, I think of the people who might not be as integrated into the clinical or the workflow or necessarily the operations, but they're really dialing into profitability. They're dialing into opportunities in the future to potentially save some money. They're looking back to their wholesale reports and their secondaries and just all of that pure financial data. What feedback have you gotten from like the CFO/CPA type about FrameworkInsight?
We really didn't get any requests for more data to be added. I mean, it includes your claims data, it includes your profit margin, your revenue, your costs. It pulls everything together. And that's why Amanda was saying it had so many data sources on it, because we're really looking across the entire system and pulling everything in together for a single view. We also have some of that information in Tableau Pulse. And we also got feedback from there that was really helpful, because it's providing those summaries on why things changed. So it can pull out very easily and show you where are your outliers, where are the things that, caused a change in the past 30 days that you might not even realize was causing a change, one direction or another. And you're also able to set goals and thresholds. So if you say, we want our, profit margins to be at 10%, maybe that's a very high number, but maybe they want them there and they want to set that goal for a certain date, and then Tableau Pulse can send you messages, daily or weekly and give you updates on how close you're getting, or if something's happening and you're regressing or going a different direction, and then you'll be able to have those alerts on a regular basis.
There's mention at frameworkltc.com/FrameworkInsight, and we'll have that link in the show notes. But there's mention of 5 specific dashboards. Could you give us examples and little testimony of each of the 5?
Yeah. So we have our pharmacy operations dashboard, and it does pretty much what the title says. It's giving you all of your operational data. It includes some ECM data as well as Framework LTC, and really looking at your patterns of dispensing and filling orders. We have the facility dashboard that we talked about earlier that's really facility focused. You can filter it down to a specific facility and really see the what they're ordering, how often you're delivering to them, what drugs are being used by their patients. And then after facility, we have the inventory dashboard, and the inventory dashboard is actually split into 2. So you can see your fast movers, and you can see anything that's missing refills or missing other data points that really should be in the system. You can also see when your orders are coming in for inventory, and your costs, of course, related to inventory, any adjustments that you're making. And then outside of inventory, we have the staff productivity that Amanda was talking about, and that provides some high-level workflow overviews to see. You can select a set of prescriptions and what steps in the workflow, who touched it, how long did it take. And then you can also drill down to specific parts of the workflow. You can say, okay, I want to see everyone in order entry and what they were doing. You can see their work by day or by hour. And then the finance dashboard, which has all of your financial information from across the system.
That's cool. Yes, so we have.
I think I got all 5.
We have 5. We have facility, inventory, staff, and finance. And when I think of those 5, I want to turn it over to Amanda. And that is, just you've been there a while, you've experienced this, you've looked into it, you've spent time with clients and customers using the system. In your own words, what makes Framework Insight uniquely valuable to that long-term care pharmacy operations specifically?
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, a good BI tool is going to be industry specific. In this case, it's LTC specific, right? What's more important, even more important than that, is that our approach to building this tool is completely customer based. So customer focused, customer centric. Maybe all of the above, but we're not the ones necessarily dictating what comes next. We're the ones building with the pharmacy through maybe Framework Spark. My role here is not to necessarily be the expert in LTC. We don't need that in me necessarily. What we do need is completely customer focused. They're the experts in LTC and everything framework. And they're the ones who can absolutely dictate what happens next with this particular product. This is entirely built with them in mind, and to assist with any operational or even policy, like Terry had mentioned with the IRA, and MFP. Those are all things that we've considered and will constantly evaluate. So really, any feedback is valuable, good and bad. We take it all into account and use that to improve constantly.
Terry and Amanda, this has been a really good deep dive into Framework Insight. And for listeners, if you're curious, you're running a long-term care pharmacy, you want to expand, you might want to take on additional skilled nursing, you want to understand, how is this system going to impact my operation, my profitability? reach out to this team and ask those questions. Take time to go through a specific demo of the Framework Insight and be able to extract specific data that you'd like to see that you might not be receiving from your existing pharmacy management system. And that's okay. We will never have everything that's perfect, but we have to know about our data. We have to know how to splice it. Have to know how to leverage it in order to become profitable enough to keep moving forward, because the baby boomers haven't even reached the top of the mountain yet in how many baby boomers there are out in the United States. And so we desperately need long-term care pharmacy expansion. You have to be profitable in order to completely have that opportunity for expansion. Amanda, thank you so much for being on Framework Focus. And Terry, thank you so much for your participation as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. It's great to get to introduce Amanda to everybody. So she finally gets to meet everyone.
That's right. Amanda is now on the pods. When you're on the pods, you are officially official.
I've made it.
You are listening to Framework Focus, a SoftWriters podcast. I'm Todd Eury, host of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. We thank you for listening. Once again, take a look. FrameworkLTC.com/Framework Insight. Schedule a demo and look at it for yourself and give us your feedback. Send it to us. We're ready to explore, ready to do more in 2026.
We just heard some great conversation from Terry and Amanda about why real-time accessible data matters so much in long-term care pharmacy and how that thinking ultimately shaped Framework Insight. Now, we're going to shift to a segment from this year's Framework LTC Innovation Conference. In this clip, you'll hear Terry speaking with Michael Battler from Phoebe Pharmacy about their experience with Framework Insight.
I think we really appreciated the filtering capability of the system. I think that we know it started out with a few data sets that we could filter by, and then I think you've added more, and I know that there's more coming in the works, and I think a redesign there, and I think that just allows you to really do a great comparison across your communities, across your staff members. It really does let you drill down into the data that really will help you shape your workforce.
How does the filtering, do you think, compare to other tools that you've used?
I think it went very easily. The thing I liked is it allows you to include or exclude at the same time. So to me, being able to do that right from the start, when you're going into the bar chart that you're looking at, you may want to keep something out because it doesn't match up apples to apples. So being able to do that, and then once we add the facility groups, which I think we utilize, I think a lot of other pharmacies utilize, you'll be able to really kind of dig down into comparing them very well.
Mm-hmm. So after you were in the program for a little while, or maybe from the beginning, what gave you confidence that this was going in the right direction, that we were doing the right thing?
I think one, the data made sense to us. I think when we first loaded it, being that we had 4 pharmacies, and we are one of the pharmacies that has 4 pharmacies that are doing business as the exact same name, which always trips up SoftWriters and Framework. So once we got that figured out, it really was seeing that any feedback we gave was really being worked on in a timely manner. So it wasn't something that we had to wait months for a solution. It was days to weeks.
Yeah, I think that really highlights the benefits of it being a software as a service solution where we can quickly iterate on things and get it back out to the customers in a more reasonable amount of time, which is great. Those faster iteration cycles, do you think they made you more willing to give feedback or to report issues than in the past?
Yes. Being an 18-year customer of Framework, I know in the past there's things that I just live with and I don't submit them anymore because they're not going to get fixed. And I know that's LTC, but so knowing that our feedback really was handled and addressed that quickly made me more willing to send even the little things that may not take up too much of your time, but it's just one step closer to being a more complete product.
Yeah, that's good feedback. All right, so let's talk about the user experience side. How did it compare to what you were expecting overall?
So I think it had everything that we were hoping for. So I think when we first got it initially, that very first couple weeks, I think we wished it had been a little bit faster, and it has gotten faster. But I also know that they're pulling in a lot of data points But it really was comparable and far exceeding what we had previously used in the past. So.
Can you think of anything that was surprising, either good or maybe not so great?
I think obviously you mentioned about the staff productivity. So I think that to us, having the bar charts, looking that we could filter down to the staff member or at the job title in Framework LTC really did help us to see some weak spots in our system, let us know like, okay, well, we're really good at entering the product and we're really good at filling it, but there's a final review piece that's taking way too long between the other two steps. So we really could kind of see what was happening throughout the pharmacy. So that was helpful.
Yeah. So for the audience, the screens that you're looking at, the pharmacy productivity at the top corner is really showing you the team-wide in each of the workflow steps, while the one on the bottom is doing more of the individual staff members where you can see by day and by hour. And originally, we really hadn't anticipated y'all asking so hard for the by day and by hour and by individuals and workflow steps. So I think that was surprising from our perspective, and I'm glad that we were able to iterate on it and give you that. How would you say that your team's comfort level evolved over time with the product? Did they have any challenges getting up to speed?
I think in the beginning there was a few staff members that definitely had some challenges and just couldn't quite understand the data. But we kind of did a trainer model, so I kind of took that part of it on and then made sure that I took it back to the team and could show them. We use Teams, so that was the easiest way to just kind of show them what they were doing wrong and how to get it. And then the nice part is the dashboards and everything has a reset button. So if you filter it down too far and realize like, oh, I don't quite remember where I started, what I've done, you can hit the reset and kind of get it back to the base settings.
What would you say were the most common questions that you got about the system?
I think the biggest thing was just that, is this data accurate? They were like, yes, you can confirm it, you can click on it, it does give you some detail on the data of where it's pulling from, depending on what piece of it you're in, but I think that was probably the number one, was like, this is like true data, we can trust this. I said yes.
Yeah. Trust all day here.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's little, I don't know if you can see it well, but there's these little info buttons on each of the charts, so you can hover over those and they'll give you detail about where the data is coming from. We also have the usual like user guides, but it's nice that it's actually built into the system and you don't have to navigate anywhere else to figure out what that data is. So let's talk about like a typical day in the life, right? So give us like a Tuesday morning. How do you use this system? What does your day look like?
Yeah, so we talked about a little bit about the speed. So when you first open it up, it is going to be kind of uploading all that information. So you're going to want to start that process, and I usually go make my coffee, and I come back, and by the time I'm back, it's ready to go. And the nice part is I get triggered by Tableau Pulse. So you can set up Tableau Pulse to send you data on a daily, weekly, or monthly time frame. So typically on Monday or Tuesday we were getting that Tableau Pulse report, and then that's when we as a team kind of looked at the data at that time.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's dig into Tableau Pulse a little bit, so I think that's different than the normal like dashboard thing that people are used to. So for anyone in the audience that has never used Tableau Pulse before, how would you describe the difference between these metrics versus what you see in the dashboard?
So I think the Tableau Pulse really is like your trend line. So you can really see quickly what is going on in your pharmacy. You can really see that average fill time. You can kind of see where that's at and where it's compared to. You can also set metrics. So if you want to set a goal for your team, you can do that in the system. We're post-consumption, so some of the Tableau Pulse fields didn't really apply to us because we don't bill all of our prescriptions. Our cycle prescriptions don't get billed till the next month. So if you're looking at a month-to-date view or previous week, it may not be as accurate in that sense, but we definitely found some of them very useful.
Okay. Do you feel like it's better for like a quick check versus a deep analysis?
Yeah, I think to me it kind of lets you know exactly what you probably already do know, but it confirms that the data is there. That like, yeah, I think we were a little slow in getting deliveries out, and you can kind of see that average fill time being something that you can see a trend up, and that way then you can kind of be a little bit more proactive in that regard and make sure that the next day you're kind of seeing that trend line go back down.
Did you notice any changes in like the questions you were even asking about your data after seeing these?
I think there definitely was. I think we kind of really looked at making sure that our staff was up to speed. And obviously I love the program or the presentation before this with the AI, because I think that's going to help make them even more efficient when we have that in place. But I think there definitely was some different questions that we asked in going into that.
All right. So what's your favorite pulse metric? What's your go-to?
It's definitely the average fill time. That's
Average fill time?
the easiest to, yeah. And I think everybody, from the managers of all of our pharmacies, it was the easiest for them to understand too. And then that's why the staff productivity became the next report after Tableau Pulse. We'd go over there and take a look at that.
All right. So you mentioned you were using the weekly subscriptions. Tableau Pulse you can do daily, weekly, or monthly. Why did you choose weekly? Why not daily?
I think we kind of thought it'd be something that we didn't want to be too reactive. So like every single day, like, oh, now we need to change something, because then you're just going to be chasing your tail. So I think we thought on a weekly basis it would be good for our team. We were already meeting on a weekly basis, so it kind of made sense to all say, okay, this is our time that we're going to check this. And usually that meant people checked it the day before, so they were already in the system and looking at it. So.
Yeah, okay. I think that fits with the long-term business strategy, because it's not really, moment-to-moment analytics, but so that kind of fits that model. So you said you guys would meet and look at it weekly. Was there immediate action taken, or was it more long-term planning?
I think it was more long-term planning. I think, like I said, from the Tableau Pulse, we got into then the staff productivity, and that really kind of identified the weaker staff members versus the stronger. And I think we were able to kind of focus our training a little bit around that and make sure that if they were a newer employee, we're bringing them up to speed. If they have been here, we want to make sure that we're giving them a fair chance. But obviously performance improvement is always something we're looking for. We've got to make sure we control our costs. That's, to me, the one thing you can control in a pharmacy. You can't control what prescriptions are going to be ordered from the physicians for your residents, but you can go ahead and control the staffing costs.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about workflow integration and future growth potential. So how do you feel like it integrated into your daily workflow?
I think it worked well. I think, like I said, in the morning, we were probably one of those few that you saw hitting it at the 8, 9, 10 a.m. And we tried multiple times to figure out a better time to put our data in, because we kind of wanted real-time data as what we thought would be helpful. And you kind of have real-time data in for everything that's not posted, but then we found out that it was being too late. So by having it early in the morning, we could take a look at it. And that's kind of where we focus. So our mornings really, I think we also hit the finance dashboard a lot as well. That really helped us get a better picture of our communities.
Has the system, has it changed any of the conversations that you have with your team? Do you talk about data differently?
We do. I think so we have the finance dashboard, I think, up on the slide. And one of the things we really found out of that is we have some communities, we service personal cares standalone as part of other communities. And we really found that some of the personal cares, with their freedom to kind of go wherever they want for medications, were not as profitable as others. And I think this allowing us to filter and compare to a previous period, whether it's the previous year or the previous month, we could kind of see where we were losing a little bit of the customers as new admissions came in. They weren't always choosing our pharmacy at the level of the community, so we kind of figured out where we need to focus some of our efforts in bringing those people back to our services.
Okay, so how were you doing that type of thing beforehand? Was it just gut feel? Gut feel,
and I think our billing manager maybe had a rolling tab of how many residents were using us in each building, but again, if they get one item from us and then the other 10 are coming from another pharmacy, it still counts as being a customer of ours, so didn't really do a great job.
Okay. So now that you've been using the system for a while, what are you most excited about that it could do next?
Like I said, I think obviously the facility group filtering will really help. That way you can really compare your skilled nursing to your personal cares, to your independent living communities. I think that'll really help you drive where you're being most profitable. But then the next thing I know is the quality events reporting is coming next, I believe.
Yes, it is.
So I think that's going to help us elevate our customer service when we have the ability to really dig down into where are the errors happening, who's making those, how do we prevent those. I think we won't ever beat the bigger pharmacies on price, but we can definitely beat them on service. And I think that'll help us do that.
Yeah, we went through some design sessions with the quality events dashboard to get some feedback already. So it's in development, and as soon as we have some prototypes ready, we'll be excited to circle those back out and take a look at them. For anyone new to FrameworkInsight, what advice would you give them to get the most out of the system?
I think you kind of have to just keep going into it. It's one of those that I know it's tough in our day-to-day to sit down and look at this data, but I do think it's something that once you get in there and start playing around with the filters and figuring out what's going to give you a better look for your pharmacy, like I said, if your point of sale, post-consumption, pre-consumption, I think you'll be able to figure out what's going to give you data that's going to really help drive your decision-making in the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm. So knowing where we're planning to go with data and AI, what's most exciting?
I think the AI piece of it obviously is, but I think them together I think is really going to be able to help you out, because I think once you're able to add the AI data points probably into the BI or into the Insight system at some point, it's going to be able to help you really focus on where some of your losses are and make sure you're tightening up your operation.
Hmm. All right, well, those were all of our questions. So thank you for being up here with me.
Absolutely.
And I'm so grateful for the partnership throughout the whole beta testing program. You all have just been so fantastic to work with and provided so much feedback that I think will be valuable to everyone. Is there any questions from the audience?
Did all users receive access to all 5 dashboards, or is that all configurable?
They received access to all 5, yes. We didn't have any requests to limit any, but it's possible.
Would you say that maybe the financial one is just a little bit sensitive to all users, or do you think it's also necessary for them to see the full picture of what's going on in the pharmacy?
Well, I guess I'll let Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me that's a great question. When we did the beta testing, the 5 people that we had access, to me, we would not have been hiding any of that information from, but I could understand if you're giving it to all your staff and your technicians have it, yeah, there may be a point where you get an employee that says, well, why, I need to be paid more. I see what we're making here. So yeah, I could certainly understand that, and we do limit in the security of LTC what reports they have access to. So I could see that if you need to do that, but I kind of figured this is going to be more of a manager level, supervisor level, that I would think the data should be safe to share with them, but I could understand the need for that. So I believe the way that works is from the time it is flashed to the time it is toted is the average fill time, I believe, in the system. Now, when it comes to, because there's multiple, I think for the Tableau Pulse, it's the full picture, I believe. Mm-hmm. When it's the average fill time, I think if you saw on the staff productivity 2, where it was to PV1 to PV2, that obviously is going step by step. So I think where we did it is, I'm not sure how you're set up, but we have different package types for our cycle fill than we do for our regular fills. So that's one of the filter features that you can use to kind of separate those out. So if you don't want to see those into the numbers as average fill time, we would typically exclude that package type, knowing that that workflow is completely different and we're working days ahead and it may not be toted for another day before it actually goes out the door. So that time of average fill time is going to look really, really large.
Alrighty, well, thank you all for attending, and if you want to experience Framework Insight for yourself, please stop by the booth. There are demos there. You can schedule a demo at your convenience, but thank you all for being here.
Thank you.